Hello, my name is Jeff Jamiolo, and today I'm going to talk about learning from your pets. But before I go any farther, I'd like to say a special thank you to the person who stopped and just out of the blue stopped in the middle of traffic, pulled over, and wanted to take a picture of my dog because it was a beautiful dog. And we talked for a couple minutes, and she said something that actually confirmed my mission with God. She doesn't know it, but sometimes just being in obedience and thinking where we're supposed to be and knowing where we're supposed to be. So I do thank you, my lady. I did not get your name, but thank you. I decided today to actually do the what you learn from your pets, because over the years I've had various pets, not always mine, but they've taught me actually a lot of lessons that you may not be aware of. I'm very observant, so I observe what pets do and what they don't do. And also what changes it does in me. So it gives me, I'm basically going to give you a brief description of the pet and what it did for me. Now, the first one is the only one of its class. I'm ashamed of what I did, but it was years ago. My adopted father actually used to beat me all the time with a belt, all the time, like 3-4 times a day. And my little brother actually didn't get hit at all because it was his biological child. So literally every day I was hit, and unfortunately I would take it out on his cat. I would kind of poke it with a broom handle until I made it mad and made it hide. I said, I'm not happy with it, but the first thing I did learn is at an early age is we take out our pain for other people on pets, and we do that. I've not done that ever since, but as I said. Oddly enough, the next pet kind of after that was, I lived with my brother for a little while, and I don't remember if he had 2 cats. I moved in to his apartment, and he moved kind of like downstairs. He owned the whole house. And he had Blackie, and I don't remember what the other cat's name was. Or not Blackie, Ebony. And actually the only reason I call it Ebony, was a black cat obviously, is my girlfriend actually named it, because the cat actually had no name. It was called Black Cat. But Ebony taught me that I care about you so much I'm going to watch you. That you're important enough to watch. Throughout my life, you really don't kind of pay attention to that as how many people are watching you, which means you're important enough to watch, because some people are just not important. Not to be mean to people, but they're just not important. But this cat literally would sit there. It was a black cat. It would sit on top of the furniture and just stare at you for hours while you slept, while you're awake. Its only claim to fame really is it would bounce on 2 legs, its 2 hind legs, when you would run by. Kind of like a kangaroo. It would run, kangaroo, and then keep going. Every now and again he would do that. Other than that, didn't do much of anything. But as I said, it's what he taught us is I care so much that I'm watching you. And oddly enough, as creepy as it sounds, a lot of pets and a lot of people watch me while I sleep. I don't know why. Then we move on to the next pet. The next pet actually was my adopted brother's pet. When he had a divorce, for some reason he had an odd number of pets, and one of the pets was a black cat. His name was Blackie, and I'm the only person Blackie opened up to, I actually care about. So I kind of adopted in his divorce, I got his black cat. And it was kind of all right because it was an alley cat, so it kind of had like a little attitude problem, and so did I. So it kind of worked out. Now, oddly enough, this is the first time this cat has ever experienced air conditioning. So I lived in an apartment, had air conditioning, and I used to drink a lot. So I would drink Coors Light with the screw top tops, with the screw top cans, I guess. So you can put the lid back on them. And what I would do is I would have a drink and I would kind of like toss it over to the cat. So what the cat learned was actually how to be playful. Because actually the cat, 1 out of 4 times, it would actually bump the cat. Other than that, 3 times it would knock it away. So it's kind of fun. It was kind of like a game between me and the cat. But that's actually it's not one of the things I learned. But it's just interesting how cats play. Yes. Blackie had a distinction of, because he was an alley cat, he was not vocalized at all. So he would walk by, you would walk by, and he would click at you, like click, like that, like it's a weird thing. It would click. I kind of would just laugh and walk away. And then I walked over to him one day and I said, you know something? I'm gonna get a new mommy, and you're gonna click at her. How about we go meow, meow, like that, and I walk away. And I did that for like a week, and then slowly over time, she started to meow. So she learned how to meow. But what she learned is don't speak unless you actually have a reason to speak, because she rarely ever said anything. Now, what's interesting about Blackie is I also had I eventually got a girlfriend, and Blackie would just hang around the apartment kind of thing, and my girlfriend would go over and pet her, do those pet as she walked by. Over time, Blackie would, walk by and pat her on the butt with her paw, just pop her on the butt. And she looked at, do you see what the cat just did? And I kind of laughed. And I laughed and said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Every time you walk by, you go over, you pet her, and she does pet you. And then she kind of that's weird. I was like, just doing what the cat does, I guess. The hardest part of my life is actually when I had to get rid of Ebony, and I actually had to get rid of Blackie. They were never ever together, but when I got rid of Ebony, it hurt because I actually had to let the cat go. I literally, we had moved and it didn't get along well, and it wanted to potty wherever it wanted instead of the cat litter box. So I just let it loose, and that kind of triggered some abandonment issues in me. When Blackie, what was interesting about Blackie is we were going to move to a new place. And the logic was, somehow I got another cat that she was in love with, my girlfriend was in love with. So I kind of got 2 cats somehow. And they kind of didn't get along, but they started to get along. They kind of made peace with each other. One of them was tan, and the other one was obviously black. And before we moved, it's like, well, we can't take any of these because, they don't take animals. I go, okay, well. So my girlfriend talked me into dropping off on a block somewhere both of those cats. Welcome to more abandonment issues. So literally, I think my girlfriend wanted to trigger my abandonment issues, is what it really was. But regardless, we'll continue, So at that point, it's like, okay, we moved to this new place. So for some reason, can't have a cat, but she wants a dog. So after 6 months, she wants a dog. Or we should get a dog, a rescue. Okay, well, okay. She kind of framed it as, well, we were talking about having a dog. I'm like, did we? I don't think we ever talked about it, but I always liked dogs. Didn't bother me either way. So largely, we went to the shelter and nothing there we liked. Went to another shelter. She kind of liked it. It was a mixed dog. I can't even tell you what breed it was. It was at least a dozen breeds. But it was a chip dog. It's friendly. It's been, from what I gather, it's been around, the circuit a while. And literally, she decided that, yeah, we want this dog. Okay. Went and bought some stuff, got the dog. And it was an interesting dog. We called the dog Madison. I don't even remember. I think it was a female. Madison is a female. Call it what you like. I liked the dog. The dog was a small dog and literally didn't really have a lot of issues with it. The only issue that I had to laugh at, you could tell the dog was trained. Example is you would leave the apartment for the day to go to work, and you come back, you expect it to be trashed, and it's all that you see is the dog pulled a McDonald's cheeseburger wrapper out of the garbage can, the little small garbage can, and licked all the cheese off of it. That's all she did all day. That was the biggest crime the dog did. I'm like, really? We shouldn't have actually had it in the garbage like that. So it's like, okay, I like Madison. Madison was kind of, you could say, my dog, because I spent more time at home with the dog, even though during the day she would be home and she would sit there and say stuff like, well, this dog is depressed because it just sits there on your bath mat and just waits for you. Okay, well, I go, do you bond with it? Do you talk to the dog? I do. I go, as soon as you go to work and I'm home, me and her go over and we'll sit at the computer and she'll sit right next to me and she'll chew on a bone while I'm working. And then sometimes she'll chew a little too loud and I'll kind of give her a dirty look like that. And she'll go over and like, it wasn't me. And we do that all day. Okay, until it's time to go pick you up. And then when it's time to go pick you up, it's like, you want to go pick up mommy? And the dog's like, and we jump in the car and she sits in the back seat, looking out the window like, oh yeah, man, this is great. This is great, Dad, let's do it some more. I go, but do you bond with the dog? No, actually, you watch TV and sit there. And what does the dog do? Say, I don't want to bond with you because you don't want to bond with me. I'm out of here. But actually, Madison was a good dog. Madison taught me to go with the flow. Life is not so serious. Because every now and again, one problem that she had is Madison knew exactly how to get out of that leash, how to get out of her collar. So she would do a floop, floop, boom, out. She was out of there. Pew. And she was a female, so she would kind of maybe go 55, 70 feet away and kind of hover around you to make sure to watch you. I go, but to me, I just looked at it and said, that's just fun. I go, let's go get the mail. And we kind of walk to get the mail and she kind of follow. And we kind of walk around the complex and come back. And then literally, I would sit there on the stoop waiting for her to come next to me, and then I'd put the collar back on and we'd go inside. Well, one day I get a call, panic from my girlfriend at work, that the dog just took off. Like, what are you talking about? And she was freaking out, like literally full-fledged, 100% meltdown. Can't handle any of this. Which brought me to another thing I've learned is, in retrospect, ditch the girl, keep the dog. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one, but that's the outcome. It is, if you can't handle a dog, you can't have kids. I've always say that back in the day when a couple got together, if they wanted to test how they would be with kids, you would get a dog. Because a dog is a child that really never grows up. Really, the dog just wanted to roam around and be free a little bit. It's kind of stuck in the house all day. It's not real exciting being in the house with us, So it's kind of like it wants to do some fun things, and it does it. So it taught me to go with the flow. Okay, so because it's not good. So eventually, after many freakouts, she talked me into taking this dog back to the SPCA. We're back to, in retrospect, ditch the girl, keep the dog. Because it was a good dog. It was a very well-trained dog for as old as it was. And when we took it back in, I had to pay $300 to surrender the dog, even though I paid so much to get it. $300 to get it. So it's kind of a good racket they got going there. But I did find out that the dog actually had a Mexican name. It wasn't called Madison at all. They didn't have any records of the name. But it actually had a different name, and it was registered with them. Like, it's not the first time that the dog's been there. And its problem usually is it does like to run around. So, in retrospect, if I would have had a yard, it would have been a much better place for that dog. But I love the spirit of Madison. Madison was a very good dog, and it did very well. So, a past segue, I had two dogs back in the day when I was married, Fluffy and Snowball. They were twins. I guess they're all twins. They're all in the same litter, so they're sisters. But I wanted to get a husky, and my wife talked me into, said huskies are too big. Wanted to get American Eskimo. We looked at it, and American Eskimos are companion dogs. And there's a place locally that sold them, out in the farms. So we went and looked at it, and it was like, like $400 or $500 a piece or something. So we went and scratched the money together. And we took my stepdaughters there, and we said, well, there's two of you, so each of you can pick one. We decided to get two because as a companion dog, they will not trash the place. They'll keep each other company, so to speak. So when we got there with the first one, my youngest actually picked one. It was Fluffy. He always wore a blue collar. And he was, if anything, you could call it the alpha dog of the females, okay? So this dog was all up in everyone's business. It was, I'm a dog. Other one was kind of odd because it was Snowball. Snowball actually had his ears back and everything. And it's like, it looked like most actually places that you read online, they'll tell you that if the dog's ears are back, there's something wrong with the dog. It's kind of something mentally wrong with it. Even though, looking back, actually, I've seen no evidence of that. But either way, my stepdaughter had a big heart, said, oh, we want that one. It's so cute. It's like, oh, but it has its ears back, How about, and try to talk her out of it. And she's insistent, like, nope, okay, well, Snowball it is. And she wore a pink one. Oddly enough, those dogs, the first year in Buffalo, this is Buffalo now, they were outside the Buffalo winter as puppies because my wife did not want them in the house. Now, that being said, they did have a plastic little igloo shelter, which was rated at like 20 degrees or whatever. Had many blankets in there that we threw in there, and it had a little fenced in dog run. So we did check it every day in the morning, afternoon, and night to make sure. But she was I guess she kind of felt guilty because the following winter, the dogs were allowed to be in a house, but they were allowed to be in the laundry room kind of the house. Now, what's interesting about that is it didn't take long, the rest of the year that the dogs wanted to be in the house because they were kind of used to being outside at that point. So the good news is actually they kind of potty trained themselves because they're already outside. So when they came inside and they wanted to potty, they always wanted to go outside. So they kind of already knew that they wanted to go outside. So that's the good news. But slowly they kind of, I guess, got under my wife's skin and they kind of stayed in the house more into just the laundry room. You can't just keep the dogs in the laundry room. So when my wife was away, I would go over and open up the door and let the dogs roam around, do what they do. But it didn't take very long, maybe another 6 months to a year, my wife let them roam the house. She's like, oh, they weren't allowed on any of the beds or anything. I go, please, they're not allowed on the bed, and the first thing the dog does is jump on the kid's bed because that's the only place the kids want them, So it's like, whatever. But then you realize how smart they are and how much they pay attention to who they're talking to. And that's what I've learned about dogs, is they read the room very well. And they were no different. They actually sat there and they knew I operated differently than my wife. They know that my wife operated differently than her daughter, that kind of thing, than her mom. Because each of them had a mom. So they kind of operate differently. And what's funny is one Christmas, my stepfather came over, and I think my mother was there also. And it's the first time they kind of met the dogs, or second time or third time, whatever. And they were there, and Fluffy, the one who normally keeps his ears up, had his ears down, pretending to be Snowball, pretending to get pets, like, hee, I'm going to sneak this in here. And he would do that. So they do all kinds of weird things like that. But one of the interesting things is as much as, people say that, with the ears down, you're kind of stupid. Snowball was the only dog that would sing the theme or howl the theme to Law and Order. Every time she would hear it, she would start howling it. And it sounded really, really good. To the point where Fluffy tried to emulate it and it didn't sound too good. I guess Snowball really didn't bark as much as Fluffy did. Now, it's interesting about dogs when you have a pair of them and they're part of the same litter, is they plot against you. Other than the fact they like stealing lighters for some reason. And I had no issue with them stealing lighters other than they would hide them behind the hot water tank, which was kind of like a fire problem. So we kind of like treated it like it was a child and you have your lighters up. But one of the issues that was funny is every Friday, every Friday that was payday, we would have pizza and wings and we'd watch TV. We'd pick a movie and watch a movie. DVD usually. While we're sitting here eating, one of the dogs would cause a ruckus and the other dog would run in, snatch a piece of pizza and run off. Because it was kind of sitting on the floor, just sitting there. And while you would reprimand the one dog, you come back to go eat, and you never really paid attention to it when the slices was gone. Until you kind of went over there and you saw both of them there eating the same slice. So they kind of plotted against you to go steal your pizza, which I thought was kind of amazing. But other than that, as I said, I did not really learn anything from them, so I did not put anything down there. I could probably put down a whole bunch more that I've learned from them, but they were very entertaining dogs, and I did love them. The reason we actually departed is we moved. So my daughters actually kept the dogs. And from what I gathered, they eventually let them go on a farm somewhere. Which is fine, because they were kind of wild dogs anyway. But we're going to talk about my current dog, who is sleeping right there. And that is Akita. Akita is a very interesting dog. Just to make sure you know the story, she's an Alaskan Husky. And literally when I was breaking up with when literally my girlfriend decided that she no longer wanted to be with me anymore, it wasn't working out kind of thing, but we lived together. So she kind of just walked off is what it is. I said, well, something, I'm gonna go get me a dog. It'll probably be a Husky, as I said, and it's all I said. And that put the B into the universe that, hey, I'm getting a Husky. Literally didn't really think much of it other than, I looked at it as I was being faithful and the person I was with was being disloyal. Because when you want to convert a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship to a roommate relationship, you kind of got a serious problem in your relationship. And that is what the problem is there, is that she thus, I don't know what the logic was. I just know this. I felt disrespected at that point. It's like, well, I'm going to move on. And what I chose to do is I'm going to be with something more loyal. I'm going to try I've always wanted a Husky. Let me get a damn Husky. At 50 years old, let me get a Husky. Why? By the time I'm 65, the dog will be dead, and heck, I may be dead. I go, but the fact remains is I've never had a Husky. I wanted a Husky my entire life since I was a child. So why not get one? Well, what's interesting about that is about 4 months later, because I was moving apartments to move closer to work, I was talking to a person at work who was a vet, or was going to be a vet tech, I guess. And she hooked me up with a breeder in eastern Kentucky, basically on the border of Virginia, on the mountains. So I got in touch with them, and they just, one of their pups just got pregnant. They mentioned Alaskan Husky. I did not pay any attention. I thought it's just a Husky. It's all I know about. I know there's a difference between Siberian and Alaskan. So Alaskan's actually smaller. Well, what's interesting is literally every day, I went and paid them in advance. I want one of your dogs. He goes, well, we can't really. Well, here's a deposit on one of the dogs. So I know I want one of your dogs, preferably a female, because what I've read online is that females are less roaming. They are more clingy. And in an apartment setting, you want clingy versus roaming. Males have a tendency to roam, which means you don't know where they are for 3 days until the dog catcher calls. That's kind of thing. Females are more roaming. They roam a little bit. I also did not know that they're actually more territorial. But anyway, that is the story of Akita. And literally every day I meditated, I guess you could say you prayed, to source, God, the universe, for the best dog I could possibly have. I had a bad relationship. I would like to have a good relationship. I need this dog, because I'm sick of people. That's really what it is, So it's like, okay, well, literally, I waited every day, said the same meditation, same prayer, sent loving energy that way. Finally, the dog gave birth. Finally, the parents gave birth. Like, yeah, hoo. And it's like the lottery when you got all these numbers. You got to pick a number for your dog. And I think I was number 3, or something, was Akita. I said, I want that one. And literally, I would get once a week. I would get a photo or two, and almost every picture that was of her, literally, she was grooming herself, like flashing me all her private parts. I'm like, whoa, this is an interesting dog. And it's like exhibitionist dog. Like that's I've never heard of that before, but we'll see. I mean, she's clean. But when I went to go pick her up, because I was 2 weeks late. I paid them extra for. I had to pay them extra because I could not be there when everyone else was picking up their pets, their dog. So the advantage to that, actually, I didn't know about it, but the advantage to me was she got to spend 2 extra weeks alone with mommy. Extra loving, I think. That's what we like to call it. But on the way home, I said literally these people are on a mountain. The dog, the mother was the vet tech, and I guess the husband was there kind of cleaning up holding the house while the mother was at work, or the wife was at work. So literally this guy didn't know what he was doing. He gave me the wrong food, and the dog really reeked of feces. The dog was rolling it, and he did the best he could to clean it up. Like, okay, that's fine. I'll put him in a shower for a while. But literally, I put her in the crate. Like, okay, and it never occurred to me that I might want to seep out the crate in. So we're going down the mountain, and in the back seat, I see and this dog is howling like, oh, I'm gonna die. It's just screaming like you wouldn't believe. I'm like, oh, baby, let's just be quiet enough. Let me get down this hill, because at the same time this is all going on, my vehicle has trip sensors, and it says I'm falling off this hill. I'm falling off this mountain because there's ditches on either side. So it's like I'm trying not to fall into a ditch. And I finally get down to the bottom, to an actual road. We get to a road, I pull into a church, and I take her out of there, man. I give her a hug and say, baby, it'll be all right. Let's just get out of this crate here, because you're traumatized by this crate at this point. So I kind of buckled her in, put a little blanket around her. I was nice enough that I stopped in at one of the fabric places, Joanne Fabrics, and I got what feels like a cow. It was black and white, but it actually felt fluffy, like a cow. So I got that as a blanket for her. I got a couple yards of that, and I wrapped her in that. So she kind of felt like home. Until I got her home. Okay, when I got her home, literally, as she kind of reeked of feces. But it was raining when we got home, and she was freaked out by the snow. Windshield wipers. But when we got home, she really didn't want to go inside. She wanted to just walk. And I go, well, let's walk around the front. And she's getting rained on. She's like a wet rat, really. And the next day, she smelled fine because she kind of washed herself off. But what I've learned about that dog is a bond and relationship cannot be broken, because literally that dog bonded with me. A couple weeks later, something really bonded us together. It's going to sound cruel, but I was watching TV and the dog was playing with a ball, and I had the patio open. There's a little fence, but there's about that much room underneath there. So I guess she got the ball and she kind of rolled it, and it kind of rolled off, just kind of off into the grass in front. And I said, I'm on the second floor. So she kind of like puts her head out there and kind of looks at it, and she's trying to go get it. And that's all I heard was a lady out in the parking lot screaming, oh my God, it fell. And my dog goes, yip, 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 like that. Like, what the heck? And he goes, oh, my dog, basically I heard, oh my God, your dog fell off the balcony. I'm like, what? How's my dog fall? Okay, that's kind. And she actually fell, and then fell in my downstairs neighbor's patio. So now she's enclosed in there, which, by the way, my neighbors didn't know I had a dog, but now they do. So I went and got the dog, and from that moment on, we're the best of friends, because I saved her from the pit downstairs. But a bonded relationship can't be broken. I said, she literally, from that moment on, it was lovey-dovey every minute of the day. She did hit her, I guess, her back paw, her hip. Because for a couple days, she kind of limped on, and then it was fine after that. So I'm assuming it went away over the time. But the lesson learned there was a bonded relationship cannot be broken. one thing for certain, okay, the dog also taught me unconditional love. Because prior to that, everything was very conditional, okay? With her, it was more unconditional, almost to the point where our souls know each other. We've been around the block a while. Now, other than us being bonded, we do know each other. Now, mind you, I don't yell at her. I don't do anything of the sort. She's not even trained, actually. The only training she's had is potty training, and that's because she was not happy with me. That a quick story on that one. Her potty training, she was on pads forever, going on 6 months plus, which you're supposed to be well off of it by then. However, I was in all of my busy season at work, so I couldn't do much of anything other than pads is what it was. I don't have time to take you out 3 times a day. Well, we had a visiting dog over. I was watching another person's dog. So they're kind of both in the crates, and they were both using the pads. And the one dog would protect the pads and would not allow her on the pads. And she said, fine, be like that. And she jumped on my bed, which has nice white sheets on it, and pottied on that. I'm like, I was not very happy, and I took her and I grabbed her and I put her into her crate and said, that's not nice, very bad. And then I, washed my stuff, and then I went and put the other dog away and put new pads out and gave her pads. And then literally the next day, it's like, no, I want to go outside, damn it. I saw all other dogs go outside, I'm going outside. And from that day on, it's like, nope, I'm going outside where other dogs go. Heck with this stuff. So she potty trained herself. She also taught me to live in the now. From a dog's perspective, there is no real past. There's no future either. It's just right now. It's all we got. Like right now, she's snoring. She's never sleeping. But there really is only now. And people forget that. Dog largely does not have a lot of value in the past. It may learn a little bit lesson here or there. I said, I don't really even yell at my dog. This is the loudest voice I do. Oh, what happened? And as soon as she hears that, she was like, uh-oh. And she looks around, what did I just do? Oh, that was bad, okay. And just by love of me, she won't actually do it again. That also means that when she wants something, she acts very goofy. Like, she'll tap you. Tap you. Hey, Dad, hello. Actually, one of our best pastimes actually is, actually it brings me to another one. We used to actually sit a lot, and she, for the longest time, used to eat dog food. And then eventually we had dog food, and there was vitamins. It was Blue Buffalo with some vitamin things in it. And she eventually stopped eating the vitamin things. I'm like, okay, so obviously there's too many in the package or whatever. She didn't like them, so I bought a different brand. But she did love Blue Buffalo, and you got to imagine it's pretty rough on a dog to have 3 years of eating puppy food. It doesn't make a dog real happy. Especially, it's only one flavor too, so it's like, ugh. So when she got into adult food, she was more than happy to go into adult foods. So we went over, and for a year she had adult food. And then she would, kind of scam some food off of me. Because at that point I was I would eat hamburgers. I would have all kinds of meats that she would eat with me. So it kind of taught me that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have some of this stuff. Like I shouldn't have onions on stuff and whatever. Okay, I wouldn't. I go, but largely it was really big when I went to a carnivore diet. She was my best friend. Because now she got bones and she has steak. A lot of times, hamburger and various other things, and even pork. She loves all meat. She loves meat. She eats it. So it brings me to variety in foods is not a bad thing, because even to this day, despite me and her are homeless, the Lord has me fasting. But every day, the Lord blesses me with knowing that she has food, because we go and walk around to various garbage cans here, and actually people are very wasteful. And her primary diet at this point is a lot of Chick-fil-A chicken strips, half-eaten hamburgers, with double burgers. There's a place right by, and every now and again something else. But that's usually what she kind of lives on. and she gets quite a bit of it. So I'm very thankful. And as much as I want to complain about people being wasteful, I'm currently there's an advantage to that is I don't have to pay for her food for her. But largely she does. So she eats a lot of chicken right now. So variety in food is not a bad thing, and be thankful to the Lord. I'm very thankful. In retrospect, looking at all my dogs, looking at all my pets actually, not just dogs, all of them teach you things. We just don't really want to admit that. There's certain things that's really interesting is, it's going to seem a little gross, but Huskies are known for their flatulence. They like to fart a lot. They horrible. It's almost like nothing digests with dogs, with Huskies. Well, what I've found is if you get yogurt with probiotic, and usually it has fruit in it or something, so you eat the fruit and you I just let her lick the containers. So I would buy a 4-pack and let her lick the container to lick it clean. And what I found out is actually she don't fart anymore. It's a different kind of enzymes, I guess, and it now meshes with what she's eating, so she doesn't fart anymore. I also noticed that, unfortunately, I don't fart that much either, because we're more similar than we think. It's very weird to say that. I go, but pay attention. I go, we're a lot more similar than we think. Just like I do believe that, in a way, she's my spirit pet. The spirit of her, whether it be from her or whether it be through Madison, because I think Madison was a spirit pet. That soul keeps coming back. You need help. Here you go. Because she's here to teach me things. What did she teach me? Let's see. Let's see what else she taught me. Despite I'm overweight, I try to overfeed her. She's like, nope, I'm done. She walks away, teaching me I need to walk away from my food. After a certain period, walk away. It's like 3 times a day. Even now, we walk 3 times a day. We walk almost 15 miles a day. But we walk to go get her some food. She'll eat a little bit and then stop. So no, I'm done. We'll eat later. You can't eat too much in one sitting. Who knew? Just like back to the variety thing. If she finds too much chicken today, she will not eat chicken tomorrow. She'll want something else, which means we got to find new places to be. But yeah, as I said, it's a lot of interesting things that you never really thought about that are related. It took me a couple months to get her to go from being up all night to sleeping at night, because you shouldn't really be up all night. You shouldn't be up all night causing trouble. And really her trouble was nothing more than grabbing a bone and crunch, crunch, crunch. And the problem is she would actually thump the ground with the bone. So the neighbors would hear it. It would kind of echo. So it's like, yeah, I want to do that during the day. Noise ordinances. What also is funny about her is, as a software developer, as a computer programmer, we are a tendency to be more nocturnal. So we have a tendency to work throughout the night. So we go over and we'd work, and then we kind of, especially when married, you kind of sneak back in bed, like, okay, I'm going to be up for only a little while, honey. And then 4 hours go by, and then you kind of slither in bed before she wakes up, kind of thing. It's kind of how developers are. And she's never experienced that with me, but she's do it with me all the time. The dog used to do it to me. To the point where she'd go chew on her bone, and then I'd roll over, and then she'd jump back into bed like, I was right here the whole time. And it's funny when someone does it to you. It's like, baby, you definitely have been around with me a while, a couple times. Definitely. So, the other thing that I've learned is you can't have too big of a bed, because I got a queen size bed and I still somehow live on a sliver like that, because she somehow manages to take up the rest of the bed somehow, and she's a small dog. She is 40 pounds. And somehow she can spread eagle, say, this is my bed, mine. So, that was my thoughts for today. Of me want to think about observe your dog a little bit. What is your dog teaching you? Because I find I'm fascinated that there's things that she keeps teaching me that I should be knowing. Like I should, have better portion control, clearly. Get more exercise and various other things. But other small things, pay attention. You'd be surprised. And have a great day.